Hey guys. Okay, so I had a discussion with my aunt not too long ago, and that's one of the other things I wanted to mention too. Is you know when when you're in a conversation with somebody, let's say, and you disagree with them, and but your pride gets in the way or something like that. You're like, oh, I can't be bothered, right? Um, and we've all done it. I'm pretty sure we've all done it. Just like, oh, I can't be bothered. I know I've gone out of my way to try to understand. But anyway, so what I'm getting at is I mentioned to my aunt that, like, even when I ran up against somebody, let's say somebody in my family, let's say a cousin, for example, and I realized there's this wall there that people put up, and I'm trying to get through to them, for good reasons, like for positive reasons, not just to prove a point, not just to be egotistic myself or, whatever, like talking out my ass, but like actually knowing that something can benefit them and trying not to be a nag about it. But um, sometimes people will hesitate, they'll put the wall up, and they get to that wall when you're having the discussion back and forth. You'll get to a wall, one of their walls that they've built, and it's something that they created when they were really, really young. Normally it stems from a trauma. Most of the time it does. And it's almost like an ego thing, and it's like you hit a sensitive topic, but they don't react to it. They just decide that they just don't want to talk about it or don't want to discuss it or something like that. And it could go both ways. Like, it can happen for both parties during the conversation or just one. But I have learned something. It's not even a trick, it's just something I tried. Genuine, raw, honest truth. So, I, for example, I was speaking to my cousin or something, and then I said, well, I'm going to tell you something that I've never told another person. And I feel this certain way because of this, this, and this, or I experienced this, this, and this. And you know what? If I ever made you feel a certain way because of this, this, and this, then I really, really, I apologize. But like, this is literally how I feel about it. I've never told anybody about it, and I'm being vulnerable. So when you're like, the raw truth, when you're vulnerable with somebody, you actually are showing them, you're like putting your neck out, you're showing them, like, listen, this is me being vulnerable, and I'm going to tell you something right now, and at the same time I'm going to take accountability if I've made you feel, let's say there's a reason you don't want to talk to people, and if I was ever a part of that, if I was ever a part of you not wanting to share anything with yourself, then I'm going to take self accountability for it. But so what I do is I use this method a couple times. It doesn't work with everybody. Sometimes people are reluctant and they're still no, right? Their wall is there and they're not even going to budge. But sometimes you'll come across a person, and when you show your raw vulnerability to them, instead of them taking it a certain way in like a negative direction, they actually see it as an opportunity that they've been waiting for a very long time. And it opens up a line of communication. They're like, you know what? Thank you for telling me that, because actually I feel like this or this, or I experienced this, and this is one of the reasons why I don't really talk about that. Or I was hoping you would say that because, you know what, I've been holding it in for a long time and I just kind of carried it. Or, you know what I mean? You're opening up. You're it's almost like leveling the playing field, and you're both equals. You're both balanced in between, and you take the wall down and you found a way to work together. You found like a communication method, and it's not per se saying one person's over the other. It's just hearing, actually listening to each other, and hearing both sides of the story, or even just the accountability part's very important. That's a very big part in healing, is self accountability. When you do your introspection, what part did I play in it? What part did I play in it? And I don't mean play as in acting. There's tons of people walking around with masks on, but that's just, I guess that would be a part of the ego. That would be like a wall they put up. But instead of a wall, it's a mask. And it doesn't make them less of a person. I used to hear this shit all the time when I was in factory work, is that, oh, that person's so fake, or that person's so that. And even I had an issue sometime with people being like overly, like with a smile on the face constantly, because I was like, okay, for one, I don't know how you do that all day. I mean, it's good, but two, then it makes me wonder, is it even legit, or are you just like, fake it till you make it, or fake it till you feel a certain way? Because that can be a mentality too thing. And I'm not hating on them for it, and I never ever said nothing. I wasn't one to pick on them for it. It's just I couldn't understand. Not till later on did I understand that there's actually a reason why people do certain things. Sometimes it's just to protect themselves. Sometimes it's literally, if they walk around, they're constantly happy all the time and it irritates your demons. Well, that, one, that's something you got to take a look at. And two, they might be doing it as like something they learned early. Some people don't talk at all, very quiet. They learn that early. Observe their surroundings. Know when to speak. It's a protection thing. It was there to protect you. Anyway, so try that with somebody. If you ever come up against a wall, maybe try being vulnerable yourself. If you really, really want to know why they won't talk about this or why they won't open up about that, but you really do want to keep the relationship. And I mean, I could take my own advice about this too, because there's some relationships I've lost because I didn't realize this. Not saying they're lost forever, because sometimes you lose touch with people for a while, and we all go through our different phases, and we all go through different healing processes. Some get left behind, they choose not to heal at all, and it's all a process, and I respect the process. But you could try it. Try being vulnerable yourself. And if that doesn't work, then that means that other person's just not ready to discuss it. Or maybe you could try something else, because just dismissing it is great. You could do that because you don't have to take on another person's burdens. But when you're working as a team or you're working together with people, you really gotta remember that they're a fucking human being too. And that when a person has a trauma, sometimes their mentality, when they react emotionally, it's almost like they get trapped in that, how old they were. It's almost like they get trapped in the mental state of the age that whichever traumas occurred. So when a similar circumstance comes up from the trauma of that child when they were that age, a similar circumstance happens when they're an adult. And then when they emotionally react, because it's a trigger that they haven't healed yet, when they emotionally react to it, it's going to be pretty similar to the age that they would have. And it's going to be a similar emotional reaction. So it depends how patient you are. It depends how much work you've done on yourself. Because the more you learn about yourself, the more you learn about other people. And the less your demons are irritated, because you realize, I know why that person's doing that. I see why that woman acts that way when she's triggered or whatever. Or I see why that guy is always so angry about so-and-so. You understand more about other people when you understand more about what's going on in here. What's going on in yourself. And yeah, keeping the balance is not always easy. But every time we're triggered or every time something goes wrong, the better I shouldn't say the better. Nothing. But the more we understand ourselves, okay, the more we get it, what's going on, the more we heal by understanding, which is transmuting the negative, right? The more we can understand other people around us. It's like literally from the inside out. Didn't they make a freaking movie about that, Inside Out? Oh, that's cute. Anyways, if you get the message, great. If this doesn't interest you, that's okay. There'll be other videos out there. There's tons.